Welcome to the French Drain Man channel. I'm Robert Sherwood, and I'm going to narrate this video. We're installing a French drain in Macomb Township, Michigan. Just wanted to give you a bird's eye view of it so that you can understand where we are as you see the video. We do a plywood road in to get all the dirt out and to bring in all the stone. We're able to install a French drain and leave the homeowner's property as we had found it. Literally, you can't even tell we were there. So this does take a lot of detailed effort by every crew member. Now, there is a core and tap. That is hydraulic concrete. You must use hydraulic concrete on both sides, not just one side, on both sides. I just seen several of these done by our competitors in Macomb Township, Michigan, and they stuffed drainage fabric in there and they didn't use the hydraulic concrete. So I definitely want the homeowners of Macomb Township, Michigan to be aware these guys that are quoting these drains are cutting corners everywhere to beat our price, because we're already so low and we're already so dirt cheap at how we install these. I mean, we're so efficient at it, we can do 3 of these a day, so we're able to give you a dynamite price. But then if somebody cuts that by just a couple $100, you're getting half the clay removed, half the stone to replace that clay. You're getting a pipe that's not as good as the yard drain pipe, which is the only pipe made for yard drains. A true French drain for a yard is made out of the high octane Baughman 8 slot, and it has 17.25 square inches of inlet per linear foot. That was unheard of until the conception of the high octane yard drain pipe 14 months ago. It's made by Baughman Tile out of Ohio, made in America by Americans. Quality cannot be beat. It's a 5th generation family ran business. So you can see we did not put none of that clay off to the side to put on top of our yard drain. That's not going to happen. You're supposed to dig out all the clay and you're supposed to remove it from the job. Completely remove that clay. Get rid of it. You're not supposed to put it back in. These videos that these other companies are showing you on YouTube, unfortunately, there's a lot of really shoddy workmanship and some really poor contractors that they're really just kind of a jack of all trades, and they're trying to do their best. But unfortunately, if it's your money for your French drain, don't let them come and build you a system that's going to work just a little bit, and after a couple of years it's going to no longer work. So I wanted to point out all these facts. Now, the contractors that watch this channel, that is 3/4 inch. You're looking at 3/4 inch Walmanized treated plywood. I get asked all the time, what are you using? I've tried it all, guys. I've tried everything. You know that they do make some of those poly mats. They're just crazy expensive. I've always used plywood. One day I think I'll probably go to those poly mats. Right now I just don't want to spend $300 per mat, but the price is going to come down because it's getting more competitive. That market is growing. But for now, 3/4 inch plywood, treated, Walmanized, that will last you, well, I usually buy probably about 4 skids, the whole entire skid of a 3/4 inch, and that gets us through a season. So it does last. By the end of the year, it's shot, and we also keep some of the old stuff for when it's a really muddy job or the time of the year it's really bad. You're just going to damage it. Just save your old, real worn out plywood for that, guys. Little tips for the contractors that subscribe. And if you like these whole install videos where I show you the drone footage, I get you familiar with the job site, I show you what went into it, and give you all the details, where we're shooting with multiple cameras now, please give us a thumbs up, because that's what motivates us. When we see our subscribers are pounding that thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe. I know a lot of people have solved their water problem watching this channel and stayed on as a subscriber because they enjoy watching a professional install. They just do. They love the equipment. You can see that all of the French Drain Man team, these are all good people, really, really good people, hardworking people. And you do get to know them after you see a lot of our videos. So this is the time lapse that we were running, and it showed you them removing all the dirt, getting the fabric in, laying the pipe on the fabric. So I'm trying to answer all your questions. The stone they're bringing in, that's 1.5 inch round rock. I don't like crushed stone because crushed stone has fines in it, and those fines get stuck in the perforations of your yard drain pipe. So I like round rock. Now, sometimes you get cracked cobble in your round rock, and you do have to use a sock on your high octane. And I show that in some videos. I had really clean 1.5 inch for this install. 1.5 inch round rock, very clean, no cracked cobble. So we just used the naked version of the high octane royal blue yard drain pipe. And you can just see that 1.5 inch round rock. You see how large that is? The pea stone doesn't flow water, and the pea stone's dirt cheap. They darn near have to give it away. It's garbage. It's a garbage product. When they screen down cobble, what's left at the end is pea stone. The only place pea stone really looks good is in exposed aggregate concrete, and it definitely doesn't make a good French drain. Unfortunately, because it's so cheap, contractors use it, and sadly, even the builders are using it for your footer tiles around your basement footer, your crawl space footer, and it's really unfortunate. So this gentleman, he's got this collection point. You see how the grass all died, and then this puffy, different looking grass grew because of the low oxygen in the soil? This gentleman asked us to not put the sod back on the system. Notice how he's cutting the fabric to fit. That's another thing. It's so important. He's cutting that fabric to fit so we don't have an overlap. If you overlap fabric, you're not going to get it to take in any water. We have all these holes punched. That's so that we up the flow rating. But you can never get those holes to line up if you overlap fabric. So keep all these things in mind. Getting back to the sod, when there's low oxygen in the soil, the bluegrasses in the north that we love so much, they die out. And then this wide-bladed grass and this bright green-looking grass that's very undesirable here in the north, that thrives in those conditions. So this gentleman didn't want the sod put back at all. He wanted us to even cut some more out because he was going to go to the sod farm and get some nice bluegrass now that he's got this French drain in place. Now notice all the fabrics that's taking time, to cut that fabric and get that perfect. That's so that we can keep that flow rating. Now this is 4-ounce filter fabric, and it not only is a soil separator, so it separates the clay from getting into the stone and the stone migrating into the clay. This is going to preserve this system, and it's going to keep those voids in between the stone so they don't fill with clay. The 4-ounce fabric, 1 square foot of it, will move 140 gallons of water per minute. That's impressive. I mean, this fabric, nothing moves water as fast as this fabric, and it holds up. I've seen cheaper fabrics bought on Amazon, bought at Home Depot. They biodegrade. You can hold them up and look through them. They're cheap, but if you plan on living in that house for a while, you really don't want to go cheap on your fabric. That's not an area you want to go cheap on. And make sure to get round cobblestone. Nice round rock, 1.5 inch. It's so important. And the round rock doesn't compact. It stays loose like a bag of marbles. That way the voids don't end up, with crushed stone, it compacts. You lose the void. The void is how you move water to the pipe, and you evacuate the water off your property into that storm drain. The reason why we got to dig down and core into that storm drain is you can't ask water just to levitate and, defy the law of physics and find its way into that grate. You can see that iron cover. Now, that's there for flood water. When you have a hard rain and you got surface water, you got sheet water off the roof, you got sheet water off the patios, those are non-permeable surfaces. So by the time the water gets to the green belt, you got flood water, you get standing water. Then that cover will take in that kind of water. Our system, that will take in water. We dug 16 inches deep. So we're going to firm up and tighten this yard up. And we're going to lower the water table by 16 inches. This yard's going to be nice and tight for the kids, for the pets. Not going to have to worry about them coming in muddy anymore, wiping paws off, having to, put a third set of clothes on your children. It's very frustrating. And again, getting some oxygen to your soil, you're going to be able to have that beautiful turf that you started out with or that you always wanted. So keep these things in mind. The benefits, the list is long. I mean, being able to open up your window and get true fresh air. True fresh air is when it doesn't have mold and mildew spores in it that make your eyes water and you end up with allergies, and you're thinking it's because of the pollen, and you're blaming it on many, many, many other things. So here we are at the end of this install. Give you a little overhead drone footage, and you see how one guy pulls up on the fabric on both sides and gets it tight? Because we don't want wrinkles in between the stone and the clay, because a wrinkle will prevent good drainage too. So he just pulled it up tight on both sides, and it's overlapped. That's okay, because then another guy comes in behind him and goes ahead and cuts it now that it's pulled really taut. And an inch of overlap is all you want, and then you just put your, the fabric pins that we use, they hold it just fine. You don't need much overlap. So that's why they're so particular. These guys know. I mean, they're a trained trade. These guys have done it all. I mean, Valente, he's another design build guy, comes from landscape. Francisco's, he's built bridges. He's done a lot, built homes, and he's also built his own home with his own two hands, which is pretty amazing. So Valentine, he's cutting that fabric. You can see we're cutting it to where it's going to be really, really tight. Look at that. That's a 22-inch wide drain. You can't get a better drain. So in Macomb Township, Michigan, you guys have a blue clay. And I love Macomb Township, Michigan, because this is where I started my career. But your drain's got to be 16 inches deep and 22 inches wide. Until that next video, and give us a thumbs up.